Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I
I
like this!
can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Why am I not in the intro? I gotta come up with a snappy line.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Underworld Podcast, your weekly source for all the latest breaking Star Wars news, reviews, and discussion. And this week, we are going to take a look at the recently released full schedule for Star Wars Celebration Japan and try and pick out where we think there might be some news and speculate away on what that news might be. We'll also have some we'll also have some updates. Helps if you put little spaces between each word instead of just smushing them all into one word. It helps everybody understand what you're saying. This is a little pro tip from me as a podcaster with 10 plus years of experience. We'll have updates on Star Wars Visions, The Mandalorian, and Grogu, Andor, of course, and much more. And stay tuned to the end of the show when we'll answer your questions in another iconic classic edition of Ask the SWU. All this and much more. My name is Dominic Jones, and with me, from a slightly different angle than you're used to seeing him, is the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Yes, might sound a little bit different too, for the record. And full disclosure, usually I have this set up while I'm away from my computer. I have to be by my computer. My computer's just decided not to work tonight. It just did a thing. So while it's trying to boot up literally right in front of me, and hopefully I'll have like better quality audio in a second, we couldn't wait any longer because the show was already late. So let's get on with it, and we got stuff to talk about. And so I might disappear for like a minute, and then I'll be back, and hopefully I'll look and sound better. Hopefully.
Yeah, because right now, Ben, you do also look a little bit like you're in the witness protection program. it looks like we're keeping your identity secret. We could have had you be our big source for all the scoops and news that we definitely won't have this week because we don't really do that anymore. But we will we'll get into everything. Hannah Raeside, Chris Seekell not with us this week. The two of them will hopefully be back next week. I'm gonna say if everybody isn't here next week, it's going to be over a month until we have another regular show. Because this time, 2 weeks from now, we're going to be talking about Star Wars Celebration in just a moment. This time, 2 weeks from now, I will be on an airplane and echoing many times over.
This is what I have to deal with. This is the crap that I have to deal with.
Take a minute, Ben. Figure it out, and I'll tell the world what I'm doing. I will be on an airplane on my way to Tokyo, Japan. Now, you might be thinking, isn't that a little bit early? Star Wars Celebration doesn't kick off for another 3 weeks afterwards. That is true. That is fair. Going to do a little bit of a vacation beforehand, go and see a new country, experience a different part of the world. And then at the end of said trip, go to Star Wars Celebration and find out what the future holds for the galaxy far, far away. Doesn't that sound exciting, Ben? Don't you wish that you were coming with me?
Yes, I do. Rub it in my face. No, honestly, I will say this right now. Hearing everybody talk about, I got to get my panel reservations, I got to get my airplane tickets. I got to get my celebration tickets. I'm booking hotels, all this kind of stuff. At this point in the game, I'm like, y'all can have it. Y'all can have it. I don't need that stress right now. I'm living a very limited stress lifestyle right now, and I know going halfway around the world to go to Star Wars Celebration, while fun, would stress the hell out of me. So, bon voyage and enjoy yourselves. I will enjoy it. The live stream. I'll be watching the live stream, getting no sleep. That entire week's gonna be great.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'd say maybe a month and a half ago, on the show, we were talking about like how much planning have you done for Star Wars Celebration Japan? And I said something to the effect of, I've planned the celebration weekend and the rest of it is wide open. I haven't figured out what I want to do in that amount of time. I am pleased to report that I have made exactly 0 progress on that. Do not know where I will be sleeping, let alone what I'll be doing 2 weeks plus 1 day.
Living life on the edge.
I arrive on the other side of the world in a country I have never been to before and do not speak the language. So I've got a very busy and stressful 2 weeks ahead of me to plan 3 weeks, the following 3 weeks leading up to Star Wars Celebration.
Now I'm gonna be stressing for you.
Oh, I have been it's almost become one of those things where it's like the stress thinking about it, I think, is almost more stressful than actually doing it, than actually planning it. And I think once I sit down to do it tomorrow, or maybe the next day, or maybe the next day after that, or maybe the next day after that, it'll all just sort of come together really easily. Because Japan, famously a country with lots of things to do. I don't think I'll be short on things to do. I'm not going, no offense, to Mississippi, where the things to do, I'm pretty sure, are go to Ben's barbecue restaurant, #1, top TripAdvisor recommendation in Mississippi, and #2 is drive to New Orleans, leave the state.
Look, you're going to the bright center of the universe, and I live on the planet that is farthest from. Let's just put it that way.
Exactly. All right, we'll talk about what I'll be doing 3 weeks from now when we are at Star Wars Celebration. It's 3.5 weeks, 3 and something. We're under 30 days, whatever it is. We'll talk about that in just a second. Of course, though, want to remind you of a couple of things. Make sure you punch the subscribe button, Chewy. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, however you like to listen or watch to this show. Subscribe there and you'll never miss an episode. You can super chat with us if you are enjoying the show. You want to go the extra mile, make a financial contribution. Also guarantees your inclusion in Ask the SWU. You can become a channel member if you're not listening live and you just want to throw something in the tip jar. You get a fun emoji next to your name and nothing else. We haven't figured out how or what or why or when or who we would make content for bonus
so many
wise.
questions.
And of course, if you're listening on a platform that allows you to leave a review, please do so. We appreciate all of them, especially the 5-star ones. Join the Discord to keep the conversation going between the shows. Ben and Joel always cooking up interesting things in there. Plus, there's fun discussions happening in there. What is coming up? Is there another movie night, another game night? Are we going to do like book club? Is that something?
Hey, don't tempt us. Don't tempt us. So this week, I'll get this news right. We'll talk news for like a half second. Star Wars Hunters is shutting down later this year. So we thought, well, hey, why not play this game that is now doomed? So let's go play as much Hunters as we possibly can before the goes lights out. So join us tomorrow night, Friday, around podcast time, and come play some Hunters with us, because it's genuinely a fun game, and it's genuinely sucks that they're shutting it down.
Okay, so come play Star Wars Hunters in the Star Wars Underworld Network Discord game night event. And of course, make sure you follow us at the SWU on your favorite social media platforms, and check out the rest of the Star Wars Underworld network, including the Raeside, Ion Cannon, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, the Tractor Beam. That's kind of it. That's it. That's what you get. It says more on the. It says more on the.
No, actually, no.
It says more on the Chiron, but there really isn't anything more. That's it. That's all there is. That's all you get. All right. Let's get into things. We'll start with Star Wars Celebration, like we said, coming up in less than 30 days at the what is the convention center called? I don't want to get it wrong.
Don't ask me.
Ben's like, you're gonna be there. You figure it out. The
That ain't my
Makuhari,
job.
the Makuhari Messy. That's what it's called. That's what I'm calling it.
All right.
There will be tons of programming happening. There'll be the Star Wars Celebration main stage, the Galaxy stage, the Twin Sun stage, all returning from previous celebrations. There'll be the live stage that will involve the live stream. And more than that, there's the University stage and the fan stage and the HoloNet stage and the Collector's stage. There is a ton of programming that will be happening at Star Wars Celebration. Now, a few weeks ago, we learned what kind of the big 4 panels of Celebration would be. These are the panels that would require an additional reservation. So if you don't have a reservation, you're basically SOL. You can't get into that panel, but there are plenty more panels that you can just sort of line up for, and they're kind of first come, first serve, and they're a lot of fun. You can check them out. So the big 4, just to reiterate, were the Mandalorian and Grogu on Friday, Andor and Ahsoka. That's 2 separate panels, not one just badass baller team up panel. It's 2 separate panels on Saturday, and then Visions Volume 3, the preview for that on Sunday. Now, a couple of other ones that have been released since then. Again, these are ones that you don't need a reservation for. You can just walk up to. Some of the key ones that maybe we'll go over here in a second. The Lucasfilm Animation 20th Anniversary panel. This will be on the Celebration stage on Friday at 3:30, also streamed to the Galaxy stage. On Saturday, there's a conversation with Oscar Isaac on the Galaxy stage at 2:45. Bit Reactor developer panel featuring Respawn Entertainment and Lucasfilm Games, which might be the worst name for a panel of all time. I guess it has all the information you need.
It's a bit of a mouthful, don't you think?
Why not Future of Star Wars Gaming panel? Or, hey, here's an idea. Announce the game's friggin' title and then just call the panel that. Anyways, that's happening on the Galaxy stage.
You gotta play coy. This is Lucasfilm.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, they don't do that. That's on the Galaxy stage at 4:30. And then on Sunday, closing ceremonies 3:30 on all the stages. There's more. We'll mention a few others. Ben, those are the ones I think sort of jumped out at me, mainly the Animation 20th Anniversary and the gaming panel. Those seem like prime suspects for panels where news could come out of. We'll start with the animation one. They describe it as a look back at the 20-year history of Lucasfilm Animation and a sneak peek at what's to come. If you were a betting man, and I wouldn't recommend you become one, but if you were, what would you go into with expectation wise from this panel?
Ooh, I think the fact that there, to my knowledge, there isn't any other big Star Wars animation panels.
No,
they're like,
it.
obviously, like we have which is great. It's not really newsworthy, but it's very exciting because Siege of Mandalore is getting a screening.
Yes.
Also the Rebels finale is getting a screening. Highly recommend both of those. I got to see Siege of Mandalore.
As is a pair of Visions episodes.
Yes, I saw that too.
Yeah, so the Duel from season 1 and the Pit from season 2 both getting a special screening.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I highly recommend all those. The panel, I know it's like not newsworthy. It's like, oh, I can watch this on Disney Plus, but like Siege of Mandalore in Anaheim when I went was like a highlight of the whole shebang. Like it was really great. So if you have time, there's nothing else going on, definitely it's worth your time. But this animation panel, I mean, come on, like they've got to give us something, some kind of tease. I mean, Filoni is going to be there, Thea Patil is going to be there. They might have some special guests they haven't talked about yet. I think it being that it has the most like kind of out there title of just like it's kind of like, oh, it's just 20th anniversary of animation. It's not any particular show. Means you're going to be kind of talking about everything. And I think there's a chance, even at the end. Of course, I don't want to like, if I was going, I don't want to go into that panel and being like, well, I'm just here for the 5 minutes at the end. They talk about the new stuff, like, because I am a big fan of Star Wars animation. I want to actually enjoy that. So if you're going, enjoy the panel for what it's worth, but, maybe keep your fingers crossed for something. Cause I feel like Filoni is going to be like, and we're up to date on this thing. So what's coming next? And, maybe there'll be, I think maybe a trailer, not a trailer, maybe, but maybe just a title, and a date, maybe.
Well, yeah. So to compare this to a previous panel that was billed as an animation look back panel, back in 2018 at San Diego Comic-Con, they did the 10th anniversary of Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And the panel was billed entirely as a look back. The announcement of season 7 that came at the very end of that panel was not part of the hype going into it, unless you were Corey Van Dyke, in which case you believed the entire time that it was going to happen, and you were proven right for once. But it was a panel. The panel was an hour long. The first 55 minutes was just a look back at the Clone Wars. There was concept art. There were clips of scenes. Dave Filoni, Athena Portillo, Matt Lanter, Kevin Kiner, Ashley Eckstein. They were just kind of reflecting on the show and enjoying talking about it. And then at the end, then they dropped the bomb and they said, hey, guess what? It's going to be another season of the show. So I would expect something similar from this panel, where the first 45 minutes of it are, hey, let's talk about the early days of Clone Wars and then talk about the transition to Rebels. Maybe Resistance gets a couple minutes thrown in there. Bad Batch will get some time. Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire will get some time. And then at the end, I actually think, like, maybe go into this one with slightly higher expectations than you normally would, because I think there is a lot that is being worked on in the Lucasfilm animation sphere that has not been talked about yet, at least not been talked about publicly. So I suspect there's another like regular show with 22, 25-minute episodes. And I suspect there's at least one Tales of the blank.
Would make sense.
Be it Tales of the Jedi, Tales of the Empire, Tales of the Sith, Tales of the Bounty Hunters. It could be anything like that. So wouldn't shock me if there's a little bit of action there. So I would maybe, one or two sort of big announcements, or one big announcement and one medium-sized announcement. Like I would call another season of Tales a medium-sized announcement.
Yeah.
I don't think that's huge the way a new show would be, but it's still pretty big and pretty exciting. So I feel like that's one to really pay attention to.
Yeah, obviously we can always hope for surprises. We can always, expect surprises because they seem to always have them these days, with just projects that we didn't expect. But at this moment, we are expecting, like, what is the next mainline, and I use that term loosely, mainline Star Wars animated series. Like, what is that going to be? Because we've been without one for a little while now, and we've been especially without any announcement of what's coming next, even if it's down the line, just like knowing what that is. Obviously, the fact that Lucasfilm Animation has not closed its doors. They're still working on something. There's still people behind the scenes. I follow some of them on social media. They're all over. They're working. They're doing stuff. What are you doing?
I remember last summer when Din and I showed up outside the Lucasfilm headquarters and we just randomly accosted Brad Rao, who was walking into work. That happened. He wasn't. I don't think he was there writing the Bad Batch comic book.
Even when Bad Batch was airing, they were finished with that show long before that, probably. So, like, there's something been in the works probably for quite a while.
Yeah, I hate to like engage in direct predictions, but I've been to enough celebrations that I almost want to take a stab at this. And that is, I think so I say this panel is live streamed, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's live streamed. So I'm there, I'm in the room, you're in the room you're in now,
right,
watching it. We're both watching it. And we get to the point where they've finished talking about Bad Batch and Tales of the Empire. And they're like, and now we wanted to look ahead at the future. And we want to start with something really cool. And they start by showing a new trailer for Tales of the Jedi Season 2. And they say, guess what? Tales of the Jedi Season 2 will premiere on Disney Plus on May 4th. Also, and everybody will cheer. Yeah. This is great. This is great. Isn't this exciting? And then they go, and also later this year, mark your calendars for October 3rd. Because premiering October 3rd will be Tales of the Bounty Hunters. And they'll show a logo and we'll all go, yeah, isn't that exciting? And then they'll be like, and then one more thing. People have been wondering what the next big animated Star Wars show is. And we thought we have somebody here who could come out and tell us a little bit about it. And then they'll bring out one of D. Bradley Baker. Well, who played Omega again? Shit. What's her name? Michelle Ang. Michelle Ang. Or Nika Futterman. And they'll be like, here's this new show that we've been working on. It's going to be Omega and Old Man Hunter and Ventress. It's going to tie in with the rebellion. And hey, maybe Vanessa Marshall is here too, and she's going to be in it to play Hera. And it's going to be really exciting. And they'll show like a poster for it and a title. And then whoever's hosting this panel, whoever's the host of this panel, whatever person is hosting this panel is going to go, well, thank you everybody on the live stream for watching. We're going to cut things off here. Everybody on the live stream, goodbye. Everybody in the room, don't go anywhere, but bye on the live stream. It will cut the live stream. And you'll get some pre-taped footage from the floor, and then it'll cut to, Anthony Carboni being like, hey, I'm going to get into a fist fight with Anthony Daniels on stage right now. And that's what you'll watch.
And I'll be all for it, man.
And the rest of us in the room, I said the rest of us, those of us in the room will then be treated to the first teaser trailer for whatever this new show is. That's how these celebration announcements tend to go. They tend to be like, hey, here's an announcement. Okay, bye, live stream, bye. And then the people in the room get to watch one more thing, be it a trailer, be it an episode, be it a clip, be it something else. So that's, I don't know what the shows are.
Did you get a hold of the script? Did you get a hold of the script along with the schedule?
That's the usual script that they follow. You can come back to this footage in a month's time when all they did was announce Tales of the, I don't know, Tales of the what's the worst thing it could be? Tales of the Jawas. Tales of the Jawas. And it's Tales of the Jawas, just 6 episodes of them looking for a Cadbury cream egg and not being able to find it. You could cut back to this and be like, what an idiot, look how dumb he is. But I think there's a chance maybe it plays out something like that where they have more than one thing, because they do like to, Dave Filoni, Athena Portillo, they like to play with their the audience a little bit, and I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no.
The other sort of big newsy panel is the video game panel. Obviously, it seems like they're going to announce a game there. What are you feeling going into this one? I assume again this will be on the live stream.
Yeah, so this is very interesting and very I'm interested of, like, I don't really know much about BitReactor. I know Respawn has been done other stuff. This is they're saying first look at a new Star Wars turn-based tactics game, and
what
I don't
what
know
does that
what
mean?
that mean. I know I know turn-based is like Knights of the Republic. I know that's turn-based. And tactics game, that could mean anything. I know there's a tactical game that's in the wind, that's in the works, similar to like Empire at War, maybe.
I think that's what it is. A quick Google
I think that's
search
what
just
maybe
telling
this
me what
is.
it is.
But Empire at War isn't turn-based, so maybe this is something completely different or something similar but different. Look, it's cool that we're still getting Star Wars games, and the fact that EA's exclusivity contract is out, and we're getting all these interesting games. For better or worse, we're getting lots of different Star Wars games. And also the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away, and we got Star Wars Hunters is going bye-bye. So hopefully they'll give us something proper to replace it, maybe.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Normally in previous years I would have tried to get into this panel and being there for the announcement. I don't. I know other people are really excited. I'm sure Star Raptors watching this, he'd be really excited. I'm sure Hannah would be really excited about this. Like, I'm sure there's lots of people who are really, really excited about this. Siege of Mandalore is on at the same time. Kind of think I might go to Siege of Mandalore.
I think I might be with you there.
Yeah, I think it'll be it'll be cool if you're into that sort of thing. If it was a game more like Outlaws or Jedi or the Jedi series, then maybe I'd be more inclined to be there. But for what it sounds like this game is, that was, even when I was a kid and I played some video games, that was never the sort of thing I was into. I remember friends really like those sort of like games where you draw a square around a bunch of soldiers and then move them somewhere. And I never understood the appeal. Never interested me in the slightest, gonna be honest. So hats off to anyone working on it, and more power to you if you enjoy it. That's not for me. I think I'm gonna go to Siege of Mandalore instead. What else, Ben? What else stands out to you on this list of panels for the 3 days on the sort of three main stages, on the Twin Suns, Galaxy, and Celebration stages?
Yeah, so I mean, the interesting is that we're getting apparently 2 publishing panels.
Yes,
we got the Lucasfilm publishing Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away, and then I believe the other one is this telling stories across Star Wars in Japan.
Yeah.
And the manga. So
yeah,
that's interesting. So I think a kind of general, like, probably where a lot of the announcements will be happening, probably at just the general publishing panel, and then they just like kind of a more focus on the cultural impact of Star Wars and the impact of Japan on Star Wars, probably.
Yeah, well, there's this one Lucasfilm Publishing Manga Mania that's on Friday, and that one does promise some reveals and announcements. I know they teased a book a couple months ago that's sort of a lightsaber, follow this lightsaber through time story. That seems pretty interesting. So probably hear something more about that. Maybe they'll have some more announcements that are related to that style of storytelling. And then you're right, the other one, the Stories from the Galaxy Far, Far Away panel, that seems to be more your classic, like, hey, here's some authors. Let's talk about what they've done recently. Now let's talk a little bit about what's coming up. And they do include in the description for that one, they mention news on the grand finale of the High Republic. That's taking place a little bit later this year. It'll be a little bit after the celebration wraps up. It'll be, I think, in June is when Trials of the Jedi comes out. So that feels like it's going to be a big focus of things. And I wonder, like, they teased the High Republic for the better part of a year before they ever announced it. And I wonder if with the High Republic starting to wind down, there might be some hints, not announcements. Let me be very clear. Not announcements, maybe hints of another sort of grand, all-encompassing, multi-publisher spanning story of a similar vein, sort of another publishing initiative that is similar to the High Republic without being the High Republic, or
Yeah, I
any sort
think-
of sequel or prequel to it.
Yeah, I think that's a huge question also, is with the end of the High Republic. It's like, okay, what is next? What could they do next? What could possibly they come up with? They've got, this ample opportunity. They've done this great thing, and they could again create this expansive universe filled with books and comics, and maybe spawn a few TV shows, and maybe one of them gets canceled prematurely. I'm just let's not go there.
Yeah. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be something if it happened again?
But speaking of TV shows, the other one that caught my eye was here's another mouthful for you. ILM presents The Mandalorian and Beyond, behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and more. But genuinely speaking, I'm looking forward to watching this. It should be better darn well be streamed on the live stream, because I want to watch this one. Okay, because this could, and I mean, could they possibly? I mean, I know The Mandalorian and Grogu is getting its own panel, but that's going to be mostly a movie focus panel. I wonder if it could potentially talk about other stuff. But even so, still a fun panel. I think there's a lot of underrated panels that are just like, hey, let's look back at these stuff instead of think. We can't have Filoni on stage playing coy about something, not want to answer questions. It's stuff that's already happened, Filoni. You could talk about it. So that's very interesting. They should just called it Mandoverse behind the scenes, but they didn't ask me.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes with these panels that are, sort of behind the scenes looks at stuff that relates to the past, but also has hints at the future, they will not necessarily have something new, but they'll repeat some of the big reveals from the previous
very true
big panels. So at Celebration London 2 years ago, I got shut out of the Lucasfilm Lucasfilm Showcase panel. I found out later I could have very easily gotten into one of the streaming rooms, but that's a story for another day. So I missed most of the big reveals there, including the Andor trailer, the Skeleton Crew trailer, and the oh my god, what's the show that was canceled? The Acolyte trailer. I missed all three of those, but I managed to catch the Andor footage and the Acolyte footage by going to other panels that were related. So that same day, the first day of Celebration, after I got shut out of the showcase panel, I went to the Andor behind the scenes panel, and it was Diego Luna, Kathleen Kennedy, Tony Gilroy, and a bunch of the other production heads from Andor just on stage talking about making the show. And they mainly focused on season 1, but at the end, they cut off the live stream and they showed everybody in the room the Andor trailer. So I got to see it that way. I went to the High Republic panel, and at the end, after they finished talking about the books, they cut off the live stream and Leslie Headland came out and showed the Acolyte trailer again. So there were other opportunities to see it. So absolutely, if they show something exclusive to Celebration from the Mandalorian and Grogu, it's not impossible that it pops up in another panel when you're not necessarily expecting it. So a behind the scenes panel that takes you through working on the Mandalorian and the shows related to it. If there was a special exclusive behind the scenes reel that's 2 minutes long, all about the Mandalorian and Grogu that doesn't get shown anywhere else, maybe it pops up here. Maybe get to see it there, and that would be kind of a fun way to include more people in seeing that footage if you missed out on it on the first day. So I think that's a real possibility.
Yeah,
not a guarantee, but a real possibility. A few other things that I sort of noticed, Ben. There's a couple more actor Q&As.
Yeah,
there's not a ton. But there's more than I think there has been in recent memory. Oscar Isaac is doing one on Saturday. I don't think he's going to announce anything there. Like, I don't think you should expect anything about the Rey movie or the Sean Levy movie or anything like that. Anything that's sequel trilogy era based. In terms of news, I think the biggest news that could come out of there could be a 10th anniversary screening of The Force Awakens. You know, sort of like we're getting with the Revenge of the Sith 20th anniversaries showings later this year. Later that same month, maybe Oscar gets to be the one to announce The Force Awakens will come out in June for a week or in December for a week, and just kind of relive the magic that way. But
or maybe someone just stands up in the audience and, oh, by the way, it's Daisy Ridley. She's in the audience. She's going to ask, "Hey, Oscar, you going to be in my movie?"
That would be cool.
And he's like, "No."
You're like, "Nah. That sounds boring. I don't want to do it. I don't need another house. I'm Oscar Isaac." I think Oscar will come back eventually, but maybe not just yet. That's kind of neat. I'd also the Daniel Logan and Tamara Morrison are doing a panel together, which I'm sure is just going to be
I love it.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild time. Yeah, that's the Fett family on the Twin Sun stage on Sunday.
For real, if you're going, go to this panel, okay? I remember one of the best panels I've ever been to with the Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary. Was it 20th anniversary? I think is the time.
Yeah, 20th. Yeah.
And oh man, Tam Morrison just takes over. And when he's got Daniel Logan and other people around him, you're in for an entertaining evening, I tell you.
Yeah. You're getting nobody else is going to get a word in edgewise. They don't need a host.
And you will get at least once. You'll get a bantha at least once. He'll just or he'll do a haka or something. Like he'll do something crazy and you'll be memorable.
Yeah, exactly. And the heroic sidekicks of Star Wars panel is happening right after the Fett family, this time on the Celebration stage, featuring Anthony Daniels, Ahmed Best, and Alan Tudyk. Wow. So C-3PO, Jar Jar Binks, and K2SO. That's got to be a lot of fun too. That's got to be
that'll be
really fun. So gonna be some interesting stuff. If you're going to Celebration, or even if you're not, have a look at the panels. There's some real so gonna be some gems in here. Light and Magic, by the way, I don't know if we're going to talk about this, but there's a second season of that show was recently announced. That's coming out like in April, I think, or very, very soon. So a little tease at the second season will take place on the Celebration stage on Friday, at 1:00. So that'll be big. And of course, the other big one is the closing ceremonies. Not to already start thinking about Celebration Japan being over, but traditionally, Ben. Traditionally. Again, not always, but traditionally, the next celebration is announced to be during the closing ceremonies of that celebration.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I will never forget. I can't remember what celebration it was. I'll never forget. It's not long ago. This one, Warwick Davis being on stage and being that last moment, and everyone's just like, what you gonna say? And we'll see you next time. We're like, no, you cannot do this to us, Warwick.
Yeah, that was Celebration Orlando in 2017. They were just like, yeah, we don't have it. We don't know yet. We can't tell you.
Or on the flip side of that, being at Celebration 2019 and learning, oh, hey, Celebration 2020 Anaheim, let's go. Everyone on the floor cheering. Yay. Celebration next year. Oh, crap. Yeah,
didn't happen.
That didn't age well.
If you had to guess, Ben, where would the next Star Wars celebration be?
Let's see. I think Celebration Antarctica. I think that's a continent that hasn't been on yet. I think is good. No, seriously. I mean, it's got to come back to North America eventually, right? Right? Come on, Orlando, Anaheim. I don't know. Maybe they just want to steer clear of America, as everyone wants to do these days. So,
there is a part of me that, like, I think the safe bet is like Anaheim. We'll go back to Anaheim, do another one there. In a different political climate, I would say Orlando might seem like a real possibility, but I suspect that's maybe off the table for other reasons. Although again, could be wrong. But Anaheim feels like the most likely. Chicago being in there is like an outside chance, just because I think Celebration Chicago went so well in 2019. I think that's reason enough to go back there. But there's part of me that thinks, you know what, like, no, let's not do America again. Let's go back to London, like really just screw with everybody and go back to London, or go somewhere it hasn't been before. Do it in Paris. Go to Toronto. Go to Sydney.
Awesome.
Go, somewhere else. Like go to a different venue and try something where we can do, make Celebration a truly global event. I don't know if I've pitched this to you before, Ben. Let me pitch this to you right now, right here, right now.
Throw it at me.
I think eventually Star Wars Celebration could and maybe should, potentially, the will is a little less likely, but should become a truly international multi-site event. So you have, let's say, 4 locations where the celebration is happening the same weekend. So let's just say, for instance, we'll say Anaheim, New York, London, Tokyo.
Wow.
Say 4 like that. And every site has, some kind, it'll have a show floor with cool stuff happening. There will be live streams of the various panels across them, and each site will have their own schedule and own set of panels, and each one will get one big one. So if we look at this year's celebration schedule, let's say the Mandalorian and Grogu, you put that in Anaheim. Andor, London. Ahsoka, New York. Visions, Tokyo. And you can do that. You do that at the same time. You can still watch live streams everywhere. Everywhere else will have different guests. They have different panels that are exclusive to their area. And you'll have Lucasfilm will have to ship out, interesting exhibits to each of these locations. And it will kind of be a way of inviting as many people into it as possible, while also, making it as big as possible. This would be my pitch. If they said, Dominic, we need you to fix Celebration. Not that it needs to be fixed, but if we need you to come up with the next era of Celebration, that would be my suggestion, is like go global all at the same time. And, would it be a little bit like, oh, I'm in New York, I'd rather be at the Mando Grogu thing in California. There would be an element of that, but I think we just all have to kind of get over that and just live in the moment and embrace the fact that you're at Celebration, and it would open every year up to new audiences that wouldn't necessarily get to go to it if it was locked in and limited to one geographic location.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I've always said that, like, I think I want Celebration to not, because we were kind of like cynically predicting for years there that, like, and they kind of proved us right, that like, oh, it'll just be in Anaheim and Orlando because, that's close to the Disney parks, and, it's on either coast, and, obviously North America is kind of their base of support is there. So it makes sense just to keep doing that. But I liked the fact that like, hey, let's do it in Chicago. Let's just do that. It's never been in Chicago before. Let's do that. Like, it's been in the Midwest, but not in Chicago. I think it's easy to forget, those of us who are very spoiled and get to go to Celebration pretty much every time it happens, that for some people, if it's not driving distance, they may not be able to make it. And I think Celebration may be a once in a lifetime thing that, you take your family and you go. And it's really hard. Traveling is really hard. It's very expensive. I know I would love to go to Japan right now, but it's just not in the cards for me. And I get it. There's a ton of people I know that are like, I can't do that. I can't go to the other side of the planet right now. And sometimes it's hard to go across the country because North America is big. And if it's something is on the other coast, then it's hard. I think going outside the comfort zone and doing different cities and different states and different countries gives everyone, the greater chance that it might be in their neighborhood once or twice.
Yeah.
That's why, like, it hasn't been in Australia. I'll stick up for Hannah here because she's not here. Like, it needs to be in Australia. They filmed 2 Star Wars movies in Australia. Why hasn't there been a Star Wars celebration in Australia?
By that logic, we should have one in Norway too.
I'm not saying no, Norway. I'm saying do it. Do it. I want to things gives me the opportunity to go see, the where they filmed Empire Strikes Back and go to that glacier. Like, that'd be amazing. Like, there's so many countries, like they've had it. We've done Japan, we've done Germany. We're kind of repeating, and I'm just like, as much as cool it is as that is in Japan. And yes, I'm very happy for everyone. Again, Japanese, huge influence on Star Wars. It totally makes sense to put it in Star Wars. And obviously there's tons of Star Wars fans there, but keep rotating it out and keep doing it in different places and not just, like, oh yeah, selfishly, yes, Atlanta or New Orleans would be good for me. And they were cities that have never been. They were almost driving distance for me. I would love that. But also do it in Anchorage, Alaska. Do that. Do it in Mexico City. Do it whatever. Like, do it.
There was a rumor that at one point that Mexico City was very high on the list. I don't know if there was any truth to it, but there was certainly a rumor at one point as a potential site. Anyways, so that's Star Wars Celebration. Those are some of the big panels. Obviously, there's more. Have a look at StarWars.com. I think if you want to see the ones that are maybe more likely to be streamed than not. But also check out StarWarsCelebration.com. They've got the full panel list on all the stages. And I will say, the stuff on the Celebration stage and the Twin Sun stage and the Galaxy stage is fantastic. And absolutely, at some point, if you're going to Celebration, you should absolutely make time to see at least one thing on each of those stages, or at least 2 of them. But don't sleep on the fan panels. Don't sleep on the stuff happening on the fan stage or the Galactic Senate stage or the what are these other ones? University stage or Collector stage. Like, there's real good stuff happening on all of those stages. The fan panels are really, really engaging. Part of the joy of Star Wars Celebration is going and interacting with your fellow Star Wars fan. And these panels offer you an opportunity to hear from other fans, to engage with other fans, interact with other fans, and to just, see Star Wars from a different perspective, and see how other people engage with it in a way that isn't tied up in, hey, look at the big announcement about the big thing, or look at the big shiny thing from the most recent thing. It's like, let's have like a fun conversation. And there's deep dives into games, into eras, into characters. It'll be really, really, really good stuff. So do have a look at that, especially if you're going to Celebration, and pick out some of the ones you might be interested in, and then go check them out. And for the folks that are doing the panels, I'll tell you, like, seeing an audience full of your fellow Star Wars fans, like, that means a lot to the people on the panel. Speaking as somebody who was on a panel last time, won't be this time, but was last time. It was really, really, special to see a room full of people that all wanted to talk about the same thing that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and inevitably, like, we're talking about, I don't know where in the process you guys are with the panel reservations, but inevitably, there's in these huge panels that everyone wants to get into, like the Mandalorian Grogu, Star Wars Visions, whatever, Andor, Ahsoka. Not everyone can get into those panels. Inevitably, one of you, within the sound of my voice, will inevitably not make it into those panel rooms. So, and my advice is, well, you were already planning to go to a panel anyway. You may as well go to one of these fan panels, especially because those fan panels that are happening at the same time as the big panels, they especially are happy to see you, because they know that they're up against. They don't get to choose their times. It's just, if you're up against Mandalorian Grogu, that's the time you've got. And anybody that shows up is a true fan, and yeah, go support those people.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And as we were saying, the live stream is back. People will be able to watch the a lot of the big panels. These smaller ones, if the people who are doing it don't record it, they happen once and then they're over and you don't get to see them again. Like, even when you're there, you miss out on some of the big panels, and then you go back and watch them afterwards. Like the Clone Wars 10th anniversary panel. I missed that one or not 10th, 20th anniversary, 15th. I don't know, whatever it was in London, however many friggin' years ago that was. I missed that one, and I went back and watched it after the fact, and it was tremendous, but I couldn't see it at the time because
a reality of being at Celebration in that convention center. I don't care what convention center you're in. You're going to be there, and the panel is going to be going on. You're not going to be in that panel. You're going to be sitting there, and your phone's going to have no service because there's the Wi-Fi is all full, and there's no things, and everyone's trying to use their phones, so the internet's just down. So you're stuck in the eye of a hurricane. You don't know what's going on. So go find something to do. Amuse yourself. There's always, the best and worst thing about Celebration is that there's always something really awesome happening. And anytime you do something, you're missing something else, but you can't really think of it that way because unless we find a way to clone ourselves something, it's just not gonna work out that way.
Yeah. It's Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon have that exchange at the beginning of the Phantom Menace. Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future, not at the expense of the present moment. So you'll be mindful of what else is going on at Star Wars Celebration, but not at the expense of the present moment. Don't be sitting there being sad because you're not in the thing that you wanted to be in. Go find something else that's cool to do and see instead. And again, like I've been to so many of these things, and even I need that reminder sometimes. Like, when I shut myself out of the showcase panel last year or 2 years ago, I was just sitting in the food court, scrolling Twitter, trying to find out all the news. And that was the most miserable I've ever been at a Star Wars Celebration. I was like, this is the worst way to find out about this, knowing it's just in the other room. And what I should have done is just found another panel, gone to the floor, gone and bought some. Well, maybe not. I don't need to buy anything more, but gone and looked at some other things, other interesting things at the art show, all that stuff, and just enjoyed Celebration. And once I got over that, then Celebration really kicked in, because as that same Jedi says, your focus determines your reality. So if you're feeling miserable because you missed something, you're gonna be miserable. If you're feeling happy because you're seeing something and you're focusing on the thing that's there in front of you instead of the thing that you're not looking at, you'll feel happy.
And just sitting there, just walking around on the floor or even outside the convention center, like it's magical. Like you see a stormtrooper walk by, and the R2 units and mouse droids, and there goes the Narkina 5 prisoners chanting one way out. Like it's just the best. It's the best place in the world.
Exactly. All right, we'll think some more about Star Wars Celebration later, I'm sure, and I'll be thinking a lot about it in the next couple of weeks as I somehow plan an entire vacation in less than 2 weeks. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. Let's get into some of the other news. Star Wars Visions. That's going to be a big part of Star Wars Celebration Japan, obviously. Season 3 is coming out soon. It's anime. It's going to be, so obviously it's going to be studios based out of Japan. I think a lot of the filmmakers are going to be on site to preview what we can expect from their shows. We got a bit of an unexpected preview of one of the shorts for this year. This is one of the studios submitted their short to the Annecy Festival, which is a French film festival. And so we got a little preview of what the Visions, what the third episode, the third Visions short of Star Wars Visions Volume 3 will be. Ben, do we know what studio produced this short?
See, I looked and there didn't appear to be that information available yet. Of course, I may have just missed it. If that's the case, I apologize. But I did. There wasn't a whole lot of information, and there was this. Obviously, there's an image and there's a description, a synopsis, which is written in French and translated to English. So take from that from what you will. So yeah, limited information on this, but still pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like the production company is. I don't know if these are the production company or the producer. I'm not going to guess at that. But the short is called Black. It's described. This is the English translation. A psychedelic battle between past and present, light and dark, life and death rages in the tormented psyche of an imperial soldier near defeat. Damn,
that's cool.
That sounds awesome. A single solitary still image was also released. That gives you a little bit of a taste of what this looks like. Ben, for the people listening at home, describe what we're looking at on the screen right now.
Yeah, so it looks like at first glance, it looks like a painting. It looks like this splotchy, painting. Looks like somebody threw paint at a canvas or whatever else. But if you look at it, you kind of look closely more at it, you can tell there's a lot of detail in it. It's stormtroopers. It looks like they're kind of walking through flames, and there's ATSTs in the background, and there's blaster fire. And one of the stormtroopers looks like he just got shot, so he's kind of falling backwards, and a lot's going on. And they are Imperial original stormtroopers. I should mention. But yeah, just really interesting image, and something that I'm very curious. I'm curious to see this in motion, because I mean, obviously Visions, I think what it brings to the table is so unique and interesting is the fact that every short is unique. Every short brings this unique style of animation to the table. So, it's just like, oh, what is this? This one image is very striking.
Yeah, it is. It really, again, it captures kind of the different styles that we expect from Visions. Like the beauty of Visions is that you get to see Star Wars through different lenses, through different perspectives, and that it's different storytelling methods, different art styles, different visuals, and that's what I think we get. I think that's what Visions does really, really well, and I think that's what we get from this image, from this one shot.
Yeah.
One thing I think is I also think is interesting about this is season 1 of Visions, which was all the Japanese studios, was very Jedi focused. It was very, very much focused on the Jedi and the Sith and the Force and Force wielding characters. Obviously pulling from a lot of Japanese traditions with samurai and different spiritualities. Season 2 focused in more, I think, on rebellions and empires. And I think that speaks to the countries from which those production companies came from. This is sort of looks like it might be a bit of a melding of the two, where you're getting the Japanese style take on the Empire and Rebellion, rather than sticking to the Jedi stuff that we saw in season 1. By the way, I figured it out. This is from David Productions. David Production is the studio behind this short. They've produced a bunch of stuff. They've been around since about 2009. Lots of credits to their names. Moving off of Star Wars Visions, let's talk a little bit about the Mandalorian. Grogu, the Mandalorian, and Grogu, the next Star Wars movie. This time next month, we probably will have already seen a trailer of some description, be it a teaser, be it a behind the scenes reel, be it something. It's our first real look at the movies coming up at Celebration. And one thing I'm sure everybody will be focused on when the trailer comes out, I'm sure this is what we'll be talking about, is how expensive was this movie? Well, we have our answer. We actually know how much it cost to make this movie, thanks to a filing that the production company that Lucasfilm Disney did in the state of California to receive a tax credit. Apparently, the overall production budget for the movie is $166.4 million. And they got a tax credit of $21.75 million from the government of California for shooting in California. 166 million makes it the cheapest Star Wars movie produced under Disney to date, and not even really close. Like The Force Awakens is next closest at around 200 million. So it's going to be quote unquote cheap. Now, $166 million dollars is still a lot of money. If you wanted to give me $166 million tomorrow, I'd say yes, please. That would sure fix my problems for planning for Star Wars Celebration.
Me too. I might just for the record.
I might even bring Ben with me if somebody offered me that amount of money.
If you didn't, man,
cruel would that be? I'd go full like billionaire on you. I'd be like, oh,
you got how much?
Yeah. But this will be the cheapest Star Wars movie. So Ben, do you expect to be able to see the seams? Do you think, they Mando's armor will be made out of cardboard? Grogu won't even be the real fancy puppet anymore. He'll just be that toy that everybody bought. What do you make of this news?
Yeah, it's amazing that a movie that cost $166.4 million can be considered by modern standards a low budget film. But it absolutely is, even by Star Wars standards and by, big budget franchise standards. But this is not surprising. I think to anybody that was paying attention or looking for this, obviously there will be the people. They're like, it looks cheap. I'm like, come on, guys. This makes total sense. If you're thinking about the fact that, yes, they will be using the volume. And if they use it correctly, you won't see the seams because the volume is just a tool. It's not bad. It's not good. It's just sometimes they just don't use it quite correctly enough. I will fully admit sometimes the volume hasn't been used to its fullest extent. But they have this. This was already in production as a TV show. When you're making a movie, you have to make everything. That's why movies are so damn expensive. You have to make the props and the things. You have to hire people and do all the stuff. And they were already halfway there with The Mandalorian. This was going to be season 4. And they just did it as a movie. So it makes total sense that okay, well, they were already at the starting point. They could just convert this into a film. They have all the pieces and they have their sets. They have the volume. Of course, not surprising, this is the cheapest modern Star Wars film. And will it show it? I doubt it. I think I doubt it. At least I hope not. I think being that this is a movie, I think they will be wanting to put their absolute best foot forward. And they should have plenty of time to touch everything up and not overwork their visual effects artists. Hopefully.
They're still going to do that. Yeah, this is the thing, right? This is season 4. This is glorified season 4. Seasons 1, 2, and 3 all cost around $100 million each. So this is actually an increase on the usual budget. And you can bet that's going to go to making sure that you can't see the seams.
This is less footage than a full season of TV. This is like 2.5 hours approximately versus 6-8 hours of what would have been a full season of Mandalorian.
Given the runtime's been is closer to 4 hours. Let's be real.
You're not wrong.
It's like 4 or 5 hours somewhere in there. But still, like they took season 4, they rewrote it into a movie. And so this is not, like you said, it's not surprising. And I don't think there's anything to worry about here. This is a continuation of what they were doing on the show, right down to the same writer director. And they may try and up the scale a little bit just to, make it feel more cinematic, make it more worthwhile to go see it in the movie theater as opposed to waiting for it on streaming. But it's not like you said, Ben, it's not like they're starting from scratch. And, do you compare it to The Acolyte, right, which is the way they shot that show, was much more the way they shot a typical Star Wars show. And it was about the same length as the Mandalorian seasons in terms of runtime. And the budget for that show was more than the budget for this movie, which again, when we talk about why that show got canceled, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it.
Had to be part of it.
Yeah. So what the production budget is ultimately, to me, is a big nothing burger. Like, who really cares how much it costs to make these things? It's not my money. Is it good? Do they put the money to good use? That's the real question, and that's what we'll find out May 26th. May 20th? What's the release date? May 26th, 2026. That sounds right. I'm going with that.
I will say a good litmus test for being online and watching YouTube videos and all kinds of stuff on things and seeing content creators doing their
20
thing.
seconds.
There you go. If a good litmus test to see who is not lying to you or lying to you is to see the people that care way too much about the budget of a movie. Way too much. I think if someone is, as they say, turning a mountain into a molehill, out of a molehill, just heed that warning as you go forward, because there's gonna be a lot of people going like, "Oh my gosh, budget like it is," and it ain't that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. All right, what else we got? Let's talk a little Andor. Andor's coming up very, very soon. Tony Gilroy has been out talking a lot about a lot of things. Let's talk a little bit. Let's touch on what he said about Mon Mothma. I think this is pretty interesting. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly, he addressed her role in the season and how that plays into everything that goes on with that character. Here's what Tony Gilroy said. He said, canonically, there's the moment where she leaves the Senate, and that's in our timeline. So we're definitely dealing with that. But I would say, of all the characters in the show, of all the hellacious things that people go through, and of all the difficulties and hardships, I don't think anybody has a harder road than she does, because she has to do everything that everybody else does with all the tension, fear, and anxiety, and she has to do it in public. She has nowhere to hide, and this season just ramps up to an almost unbearable point. What do you think? What do you think of what Tony is saying about Mon Mothma, Ben?
I mean, it's very interesting, and it's also very interesting that I've been rewatching season 1 of Andor, and last night I got a chance to watch the second to last episode of the season, and it's a big Mon Mothma episode because. It's I believe it's called Daughter of Ferrix, and like the performance that Genevieve O'Reilly gives in that episode in particular is, and how she looks, she's like white as a sheet. She's like, she looks gaunt, like she's got tears in her eyes. She's saying, "I'm in so much trouble," and like the stress is getting to her, and all these terrible situation and choices she's having to make. The fact that could possibly get worse for Mon Mothma somehow is almost unbelievable. But I think, and I think that's one thing that I've going back and watching Andor, just like, I feel like it excels at, like, if you're watching a TV show and like, you're like, I'm not feeling this storyline. I want to get back to the other storyline that I care a lot about. I don't want to watch these people because things. Andor doesn't have that problem. Everything I feel like, at least I am, equally invested. But I think Mon Mothma's storyline is one of the more interesting out of everyone. And just the idea of her going forward. And I think that's really going to be the interesting part of having these, kind of barreling towards A New Hope and seeing how she develops and how she kind of changes her tune from, this person who is horrified at what Luthen is doing to being someone in Rogue One who is definitely on the side of Cassian and Jyn and being like, okay, war is inevitable. We have to do this thing. I I'm very, very curious, very, very, very curious about where this goes, how Mon Mothma's story develops, and I think Genevieve O'Reilly is going to kill it.
Yeah, I no arguments there. It's interesting, Ben, you bring up the moment where she seems kind of horrified by what Luthen is doing. I was rewatching that moment because I was writing a review of Reign of the Empire, The Mask of Fear, which is the newest Star Wars novel that's very much in the spirit of Andor without
bought it. And
without being an actual tie-in. And I was thinking about that scene where she kind of calls him out for what he's done with the Aldhani raid. Because if you remember in season 1, right, they do the Aldhani raid, and all of a sudden the Empire knows that there's an organized rebellion out there. And now they have to take action in a different way. And Mon goes to Luthen and says, people are going to get hurt. People are going to suffer. And he says, good. They should. They need to. We need people to wake up to the fact that the Empire is a negative influence on their lives. So if that means they have to suffer, so be it. And she kind of implies that she's going to walk away from everything, or that she should walk away from everything. And he has the line to her, "You're not angry with me. I'm just saying out loud what you already know." And for folks who have read that book, you'll know that Mon has a pretty good idea. That whole book is about, coming to a realization that the old ways aren't going to work anymore. And that plays into that. And so I think this is a character that knows that difficult things are going to need to be done. Challenges are going to need to be faced. And there are things that are going to happen that she's going to be uncomfortable with. What she needs to know is what her line is. And that's where the break with Saw Gerrera comes, ultimately.
Right.
Because Saw doesn't have that line. But by that same token, he's also the one that figures out the Death Star. He is the one that gets she does still need him. And he needs her to actually do something about it, because she's got the organized rebellion that could do something about it. Like, that's, they aren't talking at the beginning of Rogue One, but I think ultimately they know that they need each other. That's why they send Jyn Erso in, and that's why Saw is able to give Jyn the message, because they do know, both of them know, even though they don't want to admit it, and they don't like working together, even though they know it. They have to from time to time.
That's what I love about Saw. We just, during movie night the other night, we watched those episodes of In the Name of Rebellion for Star Wars Rebels, and it's another part of Saw's story that's pivotal, I think, in like showing his relationship to the rebellion, which he's at that point he's not on good terms with them. None of the rebellion, the organized rebellion, really likes him. And yes, he's kind of off his rocker at that point. He's things, and you see shades of that in Andor. But he's still the only person who knows he knows something's up, and he knows about the Death Star. He's the one person that's blowing the whistle about this planet killer, and no one will listen to him. And he's right. He may be a little crazy, just a little, but he's right about that, and that's what keeps him going. And the fact that he still has that part to play in that possible. And I think also with Mon Mothma, just the fact that I love the idea that she is never in denial about what needs to be done, but she ultimately is a public servant. She is she's all about diplomacy. I'm going to do everything possible to try to make this work without bloodshed. And I think Luthen just like down the line, he's just like, and Saw Gerrera's even further down the line of just like, this is inevitable. War is coming. We have to prepare for this. We have to do these things to, and we have to preempt this and not wait for the Empire to strike us first.
Yeah, I think Mon Mothma's sort of I think she also knows war is coming, but she's gonna hold off on it for as long as fighting that battle for as long as possible to make sure that, one, they're in the strongest position to fight, and two, you don't sacrifice lives unnecessarily. One other thing I've been thinking about with Mon Mothma and what her role is, and in this interview, right, Tony talks about There's the moment where she leaves the Senate. In other interviews, he talks about the Gorman massacre, which seems to be something that's going to play out this season. Something we've heard of before. So in Rebels, right? And I think you guys touched on this in movie night. There's the episode Secret Cargo, where the Ghost crew helps Mon Mothma escape from the Imperials after she gives her big speech calling out Palpatine for what he did in the Gorman massacre. Unlike during season 1 of Andor, we now have live action actors who play characters like Hera Syndulla, Ezra Bridger, Sabine Wren, and even a very good CGI character model for live action Garazeb Borelios. What do you think the odds are we get a cameo from, let's say, Hera? What do you think? Do you think it's possible Mary Elizabeth Winstead shows up for a scene or two in Andor? Not dissimilar to how Genevieve O'Reilly showed up for a scene or two in Ahsoka.
I think I will be absolutely flabbergasted if any of those characters make appearances in Andor. Any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to rule it out. I don't want to put a percentage on it because I feel like there always is a chance. I keep going back to it, but it's still true. The idea of Luke Skywalker showing up the Mandalorian was ludicrous, was absolutely insane until it happened. Nothing is off the table. There is nothing impossible in this era of Star Wars. So, is it possible? Yes, absolutely. I don't think it will happen just because, fun cameo, because Tony Gilroy has also been out doing his thing, talking about the fact that there will be no fun cameos just for cameo's sake.
But maybe he's saying that to throw us off the scent so that we're not thinking about it. We're not thinking this could happen.
I don't think so. Tony Gilroy has been the most honest Star Wars creator. He's given us plot points. I don't know how he survived all this time. I don't know how Lucasfilm and their press team have not been harmed themselves. It's truly it's truly maddening how crazy Tony Gilroy has been with just here's the ending. Here's what, it's going to end with Cassian going off to bring a Caffrine, all this kind of stuff. So yes, maybe, but I don't think he's playing 4D chess with us. I don't.
It's possible. I think it's possible. I think Tony is very aware. He has proven himself to be very aware of the events that surround this show, of the canon that surrounds the show. And I don't necessarily I won't be surprised if it doesn't go this way, but if we have an episode where Mon Mothma gives a speech and maybe we cut to other rebel cells watching it, that ghost set is there.
Yeah.
The chopper prop is there. And, maybe the other actors are too old to it'd be weird to have Iman Esfahani as 14-year-old Ezra Bridger and same with Natasha Leo Bordizzo as 16-year-old Sabine. Okay, maybe you don't go that far. But you could show Hera and Chopper sitting in the cockpit. You could even throw Zeb in there and watching it. If you were, all I'm saying is I could see a version where Mon gives some big rousing speech, and just to show how the rebellion is growing, we cut to different cells. We cut to Saw watching, cut to Luthen watching, obviously we'll cut to Cassian watching, and then maybe you cut to Bail watching, and you cut to some other rebels. Hell, you could throw in O'Shea Jackson Jr. in there and his crew. You could do that, and maybe that's not in the style, keeping in the style of Andor, and fair enough. If that's the case, fair enough. I'm less likely to rule it out this season than last. Like last season, it seemed impossible. This season, it seems, 20%.
I think that if Tony Gilroy believes anything will enhance his story and make sense within the confines of his show, it will happen. And if he thinks that having Hera and Chopper show up, it will happen. Because I think with all the talk of, well, Tony Gilroy doesn't like Star Wars, he's not a Star Wars fan. This guy cares about this stuff. He cares about the lore. He's talked constantly about the Gorman massacre, all the stuff. This stuff deep cuts that he doesn't have to worry about. There was a lot of stuff that happened in the lead up and during the sequel trilogy. I won't name any names, but there's certain people that seem to have free reign and just did stuff without any regard for the lore. I don't want to turn into one of those lore people that screams about lore all the time, but there is like certain things you should come into when you're doing a Star Wars show. You have some confines. If you want to do your spy thriller show in a random sci-fi universe, do that, but don't come into Star Wars and expect to just do anything you want. I think Tony Gilroy has played ball in a remarkable way. And even to the point, a lot of people kind of like, even I kind of said, oh, well, there's not a lot of aliens in Andor, blah, 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 blah. I'm rewatching Andor right now. There's tons of aliens in that show. Tons. Look at the background. Look at anything. There's tons of aliens. Like, they did so much creature work, because I feel like that's a criticism that like erasures all the fantastic creature work that they did in Andor, because it's amazing. Could there have been more? Sure. But, that's what we got. And I think it's a show that fits the Star Wars, that works and things and does a lot with the pre-established history that we know happens. And Tony Gilroy didn't have to do that, but he's thought a lot about this stuff. And I think he at least knows the cliff notes. I don't know if he's watched Rebels. I think he knows the cliff notes at least. And I think if push came to shove, he's like, yeah, get Mary Elizabeth Winstead in here to put her some green makeup on and get Chopper. I think at least Chopper. I think Chopper could show up. I think that's the most likely. If I had to put it over under, Chopper showing up for a brief cameo, because he was in Rogue One too. That would be technically a Rogue One cameo too.
Yeah, it'd be fun. It'd be fun. Come on, Tony. Or don't, if it doesn't make sense. It's fine. Don't force it. It's okay. I was just thinking, because I also, I rewatched Secret Cargo as well, in preparation for Reign of the Empire, just to get a sense of where she winds up. And I feel like that's like, there's an opportunity there if they want to take it. They don't have to, but there is an opportunity there. All right, let's do some Ask the SWU. Let's answer some questions here. 2 quick super chats from Joel in the chat here. First one says, I want Masameda in Andor in the Senate. Yeah. I feel like, again, just weird alien guy. He doesn't even have to speak. Just have him ahead of the Senate, because that's just cool. Yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be cool. Thomas in the chat says, what about an Emperor cameo? I'm going to throw this out there. How this actually came to me today. I think we will not see Palpatine, but I think they'll get Ian McDiarmid in to do voiceover. I think we'll hear Palpatine in some form. Okay, I like that. A vocal cameo. I like that. I think that'd be really cool. Joel also drops a super chat that says, odds of one more Mandoverse spin-off show / film. Low. I mean, they're going to continue this, right? Like in some form or fashion, either for their movies or TV shows. Like, it's not going to end after Filoni's movie. I think it might. It might. Like, I think it feels like it's winding down. I know. I disagree. I feel like it's ramping up. I feel like we've just at the bottom of the hill. It feels like it's ramping up, as in it's built to something. You say bottom of the hill. I feel like we're sort of at the top of the hill. Like we've climbed the hill with our toboggan or our wagon or whatever. And, with through the seasons of Mando and Book of Boba and Ahsoka and Skeleton Crew. And now Mando and Grogu, Ahsoka 2 and the Filoni movie are like the descent. They're the like the exciting like payoffs to everything, all the fun, all the speed and the adrenaline and all of that stuff. So I kind of feel like it's Mando Grogu next year, Ahsoka season 2 the year after that, and then Filoni's movie either the following year or the year after that. The one reason to do something else would be to it would be just to make sure that there isn't a long gap between the end of Ahsoka and the beginning of Mando or beginning of the Filoni movie, like just to keep it fresher in audiences' minds. So whether that's an actual Mandalorian season 4, a Book of Boba Fett season 2, a Skeleton Crew season 2, and a Skeleton Crew season 2 that brings Jod and maybe the kids more into the larger story, or Rangers of the New Republic. Like, why not bring that back in some way? Make it about Hera, Carson Teva, and Cobb Vanth. Wouldn't that be a badass trio?
I would
have running around. Like, come on.
Wonderful. And see, one reason why I kind of hope that you're right. I kind of like the idea of like this kind of being a finale in a way, coming up, or maybe just a few more things and then we're done. I don't want to like be stuck in an era, in a phase for 10 years or forever. Like, I really hope that like they give Mando and Grogu, like they kind of had an ending in season 3. They're obviously going to move on to other things. Give these characters a kind of, in this era, a ending. Let it stop. And I think, because I think it does run the risk of oversaturating and kind of wearing out its welcome. I already kind of feel like the Baby Yoda craze is starting to wind down, even though everywhere you freaking go, there's somebody wearing a Grogu t-shirt or something like that. It's still out there. People love that character, but you don't want it to overextend its welcome. And I think, giving it some finality and going like, okay, here's the end, and that's it. And then obviously no one's ever really gone, but this is for a while.
It has, when the movie comes out next year, it will have been almost 7 years since The Mandalorian premiered. If the Filoni movie comes out in 2027, that's a decade of this stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's enough. Like, that's a long time to have spent on this story. And in some ways it feels like there wasn't that much because it's not Marvel where there's 3 things a year or 5 things a year, but there was 1 or 2 things a year pretty much the entire way, right? You had Mando season 1 in 2019, you had season 2 in 2020 leading, and then Book of Boba in 2021 and early 2022. Also in 2022, you had Ahsoka. Yeah, Mando 3 in 2023. Skeleton Crew last year into this year. Next year, you got the movie. The following year, you probably have Ahsoka season 2, and the year after that, you have the movie.
Yeah.
Or maybe you do Rangers and then the movie, or something else in the movie, or maybe just have a big gap and then the movie. And I would love to see like a Ahsoka season 3 is like an epilogue to the whole thing, because I feel like there's more to her story than can be wrapped up in just that movie that's going to feature so many things. And that's so I think like that's maybe a possibility, but it's been going on for a long time. Did I misspeak? Because I said Joel in the chat is saying Ahsoka and Mando were both in 2023, and I swear to God that's what I said. I swear to God that's what I said.
I mean,
I said it wrong, but that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But I think it also, you have to consider not just from a fan perspective, from a creative perspective of, look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They had these grand phases and they had these things, but like at a certain point, Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans wanted to be done with those characters, at least for a while. And they bowed out and they ended their stories. And, that was the end of it. Obviously, there's more to that story, but it's not involving them. I think, Pedro Pascal, busiest man in Hollywood. I know he's just doing voiceover work, but it's still another thing to do. And he's got other things. And there's other actors and other politicians. And like, does Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau want to do this for the rest of their lives? There's a reason that we're only getting 2 seasons of Andor versus 5 seasons, even though we only wanted that. Tony Gilroy and Cass and Diego Luna, like, they have lives and other projects outside of Star Wars that they want to do. And this stuff takes time. People joke about, like 5 seasons of Stranger Things took 10 years, but like, that's the price you pay for good TV, like these days, or movies or whatever. A movie takes freaking 3 years at best. And these TV shows, which basically look like movies, are taking it that much or more time. So it's, I think it all plays into wanting and giving some finality to it and not having something just like keep going and going and going and going and going. That's not good storytelling.
Yeah. And look, I think I get the impression like Jon Favreau might be kind of done. Like, I just get that vibe from him.
He's doing Oswald, whatever. Like, he's doing stuff already.
He's moving on to other things. Like, I think he'll be there to produce and oversee the Ahsoka 2 and the Filoni movie, but he's starting to, move on to other things and starting to prepare for other things. I think that's kind of the case there. And I think Filoni, in his role as chief creative officer and eventually co-president of Lucasfilm, is going to have other things he needs to do. So, or he wants to do. So I think this might be the time to start winding it down.
Yep.
For better or for worse. Anything? Let's see. There was let's see. It's a Trap 101 in the live chat says, shouldn't there be a 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith panel at Celebration 2025? That's the one thing that's kind of missing. That is the thing that's missing.
And
from
10th anniversary of Force Awakens. Where's that?
Well, so they're kind of pitching the Oscar Isaac panel as that. That's if you read.
Then why not call it that? I'm just kidding.
Because it's just him. They don't want us going to it being like, I bet John Boyega's showing up. They want us to show up to it, go out, it's Oscar Isaac, and he'll serve as the reflector.
Freaking Anthony Daniels is there. He was in Force Awakens too, if you remember. You could do that. So Anthony Daniels and Poe and 3PO.
Do you remember, Ben, at Celebration Chicago 2019 when we went to the 20th anniversary of the Phantom Menace panel? And
no,
it was Ahmed Best, Ray Park, Anthony Daniels, and Ian McDiarmid, and they did a little video thing to introduce everybody. And like one of the first people that was shown in it was Qui-Gon, and you freaked out because you thought that meant Liam Neeson was going to be there. Which
I had high hopes.
I would say you weren't necessarily. I mean, you were wrong, but you weren't wrong in spirit. You weren't wrong in spirit to hope for such a thing. You're wrong in fact. He didn't show up, but in spirit, you were right. And so that's why I think the Oscar Isaac thing is kind of billed as a 10th anniversary of The Force Awakens. That's why I was saying, that if they're going to announce a Force Awakens re-release, that's probably the place to do it. But the no 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith panel is a little surprising to me, and I guess that's probably why they announced the re-release a little early.
Remind me, is Hayden going to be at this one?
I believe he is.
See, that's interesting. See, I feels like they would have done that, but maybe he's not. Maybe his schedule won't allow for a panel. Or some of the talent only shows up for a couple of days.
Yeah, or maybe he doesn't want to be the only person on it.
That's true.
Right?
I mean, I don't blame him.
if Ewan was also there, and like maybe like Dare to Dream, Natalie Portman, like if and Ian McDiarmid as well, like if there were a few other people there that were going to be part of it, maybe you do a panel like that. But if he's the only like draw, then I think he doesn't give off the energy of a guy who wants to be in the spotlight by himself for an hour.
Right. That's a lot of pressure. And I think in general, it seems like maybe these anniversary panels are dependent on a lack of talent, a lack of like, like getting like being that this is a from a North American perspective, which most people that were in Star Wars are from North America. Getting them all the way over there for such a long period of time, and they couldn't. Obviously, Ewan's not going to be there. A lot of other cast members not going to be there. That they were just like, it feels weird to do a 20th anniversary panel with one or two actors. Like for the Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, like it made sense that you had a few people out there. I think one of them had Ian, obviously Ian McDiarmid, all those guys. It was great to have those. And Ahmed Best is going to be there. Like he was in Revenge of the Sith. He had one line, but kind of be weird to get his thoughts on that movie.
Yeah, bring him out and have him confirm the Darth Jar Jar theory. Just for everybody at the convention. It would be fun, but it seems like that's not on the table for this go around. All right, let's do one question from the Discord. I feel like we owe folks at least one. Gilster 10 always submits interesting questions here. They ask, when a Sith Lord is killed, does it echo across the Force and is felt by many Force users? I have to think that when Vader died and Palpatine's original body was also destroyed, maybe Ahsoka felt her old master dying in Luke's arms. Heck, maybe the Jedi Council felt Dooku's death in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin cut his head off.
It's funny, we've never gotten that perspective. We've had some Sith-centric stories recently, even with the Acolyte, but we've never had like, here's a reaction of a Sith Lord reacting to the death of their master or their apprentice or their friend or whatever else. I think if we did get that, it wouldn't be this somber moment. It would probably be, yes, they're dead. Yeah, my master is dead. Now I am head honcho of the Sith. So I think it would be different circumstances, obviously, but very, very interesting. I think Star Wars still has flirted with the idea. I think I think we were going that direction, obviously, with the Acolyte, but just like a fully, like, how does that work, and how do the Sith operate, and how do they sense things with the Force, and how do they feel about each other? They're hanging out with each other. What are they? Do they have any love for each other at all? Do they just hate each other all the time? Are they constantly trying to backstab each other? Like, what is that relationship? And what are they sensing through the Force, and how? I mean, we're led to believe that the Sith are even more attentive in the Force than the Jedi, that the dark side has clouded the Jedi's vision, and the Sith can see everything. What does that mean exactly?
It's a good question. I mean, I think the thing about people sensing someone's death through the Force, usually it's because they have like a deep connection to them. So Ahsoka sensing Vader's death, I think that's very likely. I think she probably sensed that something like that had happened. And when Palpatine died, remember in the prequels, the Jedi say the dark side clouds everything. I think Palpatine's death in Return of the Jedi is like that cloud being lifted. And so everybody with any sense of Force connection probably felt the Emperor's death. And they felt like, oh, things are better. Things are looking up. So I think that's a real possibility. But beyond that, like the Sith, The Sith were in hiding for so long, and many of them presumably lived and died without ever meeting a Jedi, and the Jedi probably didn't sense their death. I don't think that's something that would have happened. The times that we see a Jedi, sensing, sort of a big sort of galactic moment is like Order 66,
Right.
or the destruction of Alderaan, when it's like lots of deaths all happening at once. Otherwise, it's pretty much limited to just one person. Luke and Rey, or Rey and Leia sense Luke's death in Last Jedi.
Right. Yeah. And Thomas in the chat says that Sidious in Revenge of the Sith says, I sense Lord Vader is in danger when he's fighting Obi-Wan and Mustafar.
Yeah.
Obviously not a death, but my spider senses are tingling. My apprentice is about to get himself burned alive. I better go save his ass.
And they have that connection, right? Like they have a specific one-to-one connection. Whereas, I don't think the Jedi Council sensed Dooku's death, but that seems unlikely. Again, the dark side clouds everything. They probably found out when Anakin showed up, was like, hey, I chopped his head off. How crazy is that?
And also, this whole sensing thing through the Force is very much dependent on what the writer wants to do with it. It very much, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people should sense things and they just don't, and that's just the way it works.
Yeah, true. Let's do one more. Ingenious says, considering it's now been nearly 2.5 years since Andor first aired and we've had plenty of time to rewatch as well as watch other projects, would you say your interest in it is higher, the same, or even less than it was before?
Question.
I'll say higher. And maybe this is setting myself up for some disappointment in the sense that I loved the show when it was on. I thought it was tremendous and really, really good. And it blew my expectations for the show out of the water. And my expectations were kind of high, to be perfectly honest. But it managed to blow even those out of the water. And in the time since then, my appreciation for it has only grown. And if anything, like my frustrations with other Star Wars projects have also grown. Like, if we look back at The Mandalorian season 2, like coming out of that, it was like, that's the best thing ever. Nothing could ever top that. That was so good. And then Andor comes out between seasons 2 and 3, and then season 3 just doesn't feel the same. And I don't want to slam The Mandalorian season 3 because I did enjoy it. I did like it. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like Andor set the bar so high that everything else, Star Wars and otherwise, now has to compete with that. And few things do. So I think my excitement for the show has just grown and gets bigger and bigger. And my appreciation for the fact that, it's a show set in the Star Wars universe, but it's not necessarily a Star Wars show, quote unquote, if you understand the distinction I'm making, has me really excited because we've had a lot of great Star Wars shows. Don't get me wrong, but I'm ready for something a little bit different that still connects in with Star Wars.
Yeah, from my perspective, I think just recently I started thinking to myself, I need to rein my expectations in a little bit because they're getting a bit wild and a bit out there. And not that I think for a second that Andor season 2 is going to be bad at all. But watching that show and being blown away by how good it was, and then sitting on it for a while and appreciating you more. I think, and I've done that with everything. There's Star Wars things that I didn't like that I ended up kind of liking because I sat on it for a while and I talked to people and I was like, okay, I can live with this. I can get over my qualms with it and I can appreciate the good things about it. And then there's other things like Andor that like, I liked it a lot when I first watched it, and now I really, really like it because I've had a chance to rewatch it and think about it more and understand it. I think Andor is a show that, like now rewatching, I'm just like, I'm catching things that I didn't previously and understanding the story a little bit more. I'm just like, wow, this really is just great television, great Star Wars. And that leads me to like, oh wow, okay, this Andor season 2 is going to be the best thing ever. It's like, okay, tone it down just a little bit. Not that you think it's going to be bad, but let's not, because I've let my expectations run wild before, and it's burned me. Let's just put it that way. So
yeah,
I want to have reasonable expectations, and I want to be surprised when it is the best thing ever. But it can be dangerous, and I think going into anything and being like, this is gonna be the best thing ever, because I've done that, and there's things objectively I look back and going like, there was nothing wrong with that. That was a great movie. That was a great TV show, but my expectations ruined it because I don't know what I was expecting. I was, just caught up in the moment. And I don't want that for Andor season 2. I want to have reasonable expectations, even though it's very difficult because I'm like, I'm about to watch Rick's Road and I'm getting ready for season 2 and it's going to be great. And I know that we're going to get that second trailer and there's going to be stuff said at Celebration. It's going to make me even more excited. And, that's how it goes.
And the marketing's just been so good. The trailer was amazing.
Yeah.
That special look, the behind the scenes thing was somehow like just as good, if not better. Been so good that it's hard not to get caught up in it. But keeping expectations in check, always a good strategy. And I think with that, we will begin to wrap things up for this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you to all of our question askers in the live chat, via Super Chat, and, of course, in the Discord. We have a bunch more questions to get to in the Discord that we will respond to in future weeks as we inch ever closer to the release of Season 2 of Andor and beyond. And look, it's going to be a long year between Andor and The Mandalorian and Grogu. There may not be another Star Wars weekly television show in that time. So, these questions that everybody's submitting, they might become the meat of the show here as we traverse and navigate these mini dark times that are
we
coming
might
up.
start asking you guys questions. We might get so bored.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you, everybody, for listening. We'll be back in 7 days' time. I hope everybody will join us again then for what I'm sure will be another tremendously fun edition of the podcast. Ben, thank you as always for hosting. Do you have anything you want to plug?
No. No, not really. Nothing going on. You can follow me. You can follow me on Blue Sky, where I really don't talk about Star Wars anymore. I talk about stuff that's happening in the real world, and it ain't good. Okay, so I'll be prepared for that if you're things. And also talk about Daredevil Board again, okay? Because I really like that show. Anyway, yeah, I'm just glad my computer is working and that it didn't completely crap out on me. So yeah, it's a great show. And I probably won't be here next week, so who knows what's gonna happen.
Oh, look at that. We should take the next week off and make Chris and Hannah do the show by themselves.
I think it's only fair.
I think that just seems right. I think that seems fair. Yes, follow Ben at Ben Hart with no E on the socials media, and listen to him talk about Daredevil Born Again. I haven't watched it.
How dare
I haven't watched it. And you can follow me at DominicJ25, and more importantly, check out my Substack, DominicGJones.substack.com, aka Hoth Off the Press, where we talk about all things Star Wars and beyond. Most recently, I published a review of The Mask of Fear, the new novel from Alexander Freed. And if you want to not just talk about real world things, but also talk about Star Wars things and talk about them together, read that review, because boy, we get into some stuff, because boy, that book feels relevant and current and topical in all the ways that are unfortunate. So check that out. Also have some new Clone Wars content going up over there, so check that out. Check that out as well. DominicGJones.substack.com is the place to subscribe. There's a free tier and a paid tier that you can get access to over there. Again, want to remind you to make sure you subscribe to the show. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you like to listen or watch this show. Subscribe to never miss an episode. And if you have enjoyed what you've heard and you want to become a channel member on YouTube, that's a way you can sort of throw a penny in the tip jar so that you can show us that you like what we're doing. Another way you can do that, if you don't have the funds to support financially, you can also leave a review. That is a big help to us, or even just leave a positive comment on the YouTube video. That helps get the word out about the show. Join the Discord and go play Star Wars Hunters while you still can with Ben and Joel and everybody in the Star Wars Underworld Network Discord, and follow at the SWU on the various social medias, and check out the other shows on the Star Wars Underworld Network, including Ion Cannon, Tractor Beam, The Raeside, Tales from Beyond the Galaxy, and that's it. There are no more. That is it. Like we said, we will be back in 7 days' time. So for Chris, who isn't here, and Hannah, and who isn't here, but Ben, who is, and all the other wonderful people at the Star Wars Underworld, my name is Dominic, and may the Force be with you. It's a wrap.